In the last 2 decades, we have received countless amounts of Ultimate Ninja games with varying levels of quality and content. Usually, all of these games consist of the main story, aka the story's retelling, and sometimes they come with a new, never seen before story, especially made for the game. Having played all of these Ultimate Ninja games on this channel, I decided why not revisit the game's filler stories and see which filler story is the most interesting and fun. We'll go game by game and rank them all on this small tier list I created, which ranges from good to the game not having any filler stories. Before we start, I want to say that these are based on my opinions and experiences with these games, so the results may vary for you guys. But okay, without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with the game that started the series, Ultimate Ninja 1. The game's story mode is a mix of story retelling and some filler elements. The story mode is made out of sagas, where we are able to select a character and relive the story from that character's perspective. In total, we have around 12 sagas to play through. Each saga takes around 30 to 40 minutes to complete. The interesting thing with the sagas is that any other character's story, except for Naruto's, acts as a what-if story. For example, if you play as Neji, you're able to see what happens if Neji beats Naruto in the Chunin exams. The same thing goes for Orochimaru's story, where we see Orochimaru being successful in destroying the Konoha village. The whole story timeline is basically from the start of Naruto right up to the Konoha destruction arc. So, I would consider the Naruto saga being the main story retelling and the other character stories as filler stories. The story presentation itself is nothing too crazy. I actually enjoy the idea and concept of what-if scenarios if the played character would be the main character of the show. Sadly, this is the first and last time this what-if concept was introduced. I personally enjoyed seeing the outcomes for different characters of the show. My favorite has to be Zabuza's ending, where even though Zabuza and Haku defeat Team 7, in the end Zabuza has a heartwarming moment with Haku saying that he is no longer needed as a tool, but rather as a person. Even though this is the first Ultimate Ninja game, it has a lot of content and the sagas have some weight to them. That's why I'll put the sagas at the top of the okay tier. Moving on to Ultimate Ninja 2, this game offers us a fully fledged filler story which is split into 2 chapters. To unlock the filler story, you first have to complete the main story of the game, which retells the events from the Konoha destruction arc right up to Tsunade's rescue arc. The filler story starts right after the main story. The plot for the filler story is as follows. Orochimaru is still salty from having his arms sealed away, so he wants to take revenge on the Leaf and force Tsunade to heal him. In order to do that, Kabuto and Orochimaru use a new jutsu called Gedo Mark Seal, which in an encounter with Kakashi seals Kakashi's Sharingan away, making it useless. The next bulk of the story is Kakashi and Tsunade trying to find the secret scroll the third Hokage hid in the village, which can reverse the jutsu's effects. In the meantime, Kabuto and Orochimaru make another appearance, where in the interaction with Tsunade, Shizune and Naruto is caught in yet another new jutsu called Gedo Mark Confusion, which puts Naruto under Kabuto's control, and Kabuto sends Naruto to rampage the village. In order to break free from Kabuto's control, Naruto has to defeat the evil version of himself. This actually predates the events of Shippuden, where Naruto has to do the same thing on the third island. While that is happening, Orochimaru uses the reanimation jutsu to revive Zabuza, Haku and the third Hokage. Hold up. Revive Haku and Zabuza? I swear I have seen this somewhere before, but I don't know where. After breaking free from Kabuto's control and Naruto finding the scroll, he rushes to the top of the tower where Tsunade almost agrees to help Orochimaru in order to stop the carnage to help Naruto and Kakashi out. As soon as Naruto arrives, he reads the scroll and Tsunade does the appropriate hand signs to do the Gedo Mark release jutsu, recovering Kakashi's Sharingan, after which Kabuto and Orochimaru get their asses kicked and the story ends. The execution of the story is the same as the main story. You got your free roaming sections and fighting sections, in which, by the way, the AI in this is way harder than in the regular story. All the dialogue scenes in the in-game cutscenes and still images are fully voiced. The thing that I liked about this mode is that in some instances of the story, you actually change the main characters and are able to traverse the village with them. The interactions with the other characters as well changes depending on the controlled character. I personally enjoyed this filler story mode. It didn't feel like a chore and there were no filler-like gimmicks that would prolong the story. It got me hooked from the start right until the end of the story. I will place Ultimate Ninja 2 in the top of the good rank. Next on the list is my favorite Ultimate Ninja game, Ultimate Ninja 3. This game basically consists of 2 modes, the history mode which recaps the story's most important fights and the ultimate contest mode which is this game's filler storyline. The story of this mode basically revolves around Tsunade's newly created competition with the Sand Village to improve their relationship. The idea of the competition is as follows. Jonin and Genin ninjas each will receive some crystals. Genins will receive a blue crystal which is worth 1 point and Jonin will receive a red crystal which is worth 5 points. The main idea is for the genins to challenge one another as well as the jonins to earn as many crystals as possible in a given time frame. The ones with the most points advance through the next stage, where in the end the winner gets a reward. The reward being making a new rule in the Konoha village that everyone should follow. The story follows Naruto's journey on trying to get as many crystals as possible to maybe win the competition and making a new rule where he would be the Hokage. The main mechanic of this story mode is the free roaming, which was a first for the Ultimate Ninja games at that time. Even though the free roaming is a bit limited, it's still interesting nonetheless. We are able to explore multiple sections of the village like the village center, hot springs, training field and so on. In the world there are multiple characters which Naruto can interact with, do some quests for them and even challenge them to a fight for some crystals. Sometimes Naruto won't be only fighting, it is possible to do some mini games after which you are able to earn some new crystals. The story itself isn't that long, it can take around 1 to 2 hours to complete. The story isn't as straightforward as the previous games because there will be some instances in which the story stops until you have gotten a certain amount of crystals to trigger the next event in the story. The story is mostly presented with in-game cutscenes. Compared to the previous game's story, this story is more lighthearted and has some funny moments like this.
Wishful.
Yeah, come show. Oh my gosh, it's Sasuke! Ino? Stay away from him, Ino pig! He's mine! Not you too! Come on, Sasuke! Go for it! Beat Naruto to a... Yeah! He should be a walk in the park for you, Sasuke! Oh man, where's the love?
We can't fight with all this distraction.
Sasuke! Boy, I'm feeling awfully depressed all of a sudden.
Fun fact about this filler mode is that there was an OVA created especially for this mode, which was used to promote the game. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. All in all, this story is interesting and for real feels like a filler story, where the previous game's filler story felt more like a main story with its darker tone. I would rank this story mode as a bit behind Ultimate Ninja 2's only because the second story was straight to the point and had multiple moving parts, where here we just follow Naruto trying to win the competition. But if I would rate the mode in general with all of the added new mechanics, features and so on, it will be at the top of the list, but for now I'll place it here. The interesting thing about Ultimate Ninja 4's story is that it doesn't start with the canon story, but rather starts with a filler story. In this story we can see Naruto and Jiraiya on their training journey. The story revolves around this small village which Jiraiya and Naruto visit one day to see that there is a ritual of sorts happening where a small girl named Aoi is being sent into the cave in order to appease the beast that is living in the huge cave. Naruto, seeing that, is totally against this and tries to stop her, but with no luck. So it's up to Naruto to head into the cave and stop the little girl. The story flow is one of the worst I have yet seen in an Ultimate Ninja game. The story will have you do a lot, and I mean a lot, of platforming just to traverse through the cave. As well, in some sections you will be forced to fight these zombie-like creatures in a free roam battle, which is a first for the series. The combat in this is actually fun and fast paced. During the story you will have traversed the cave around 3 times to finally try and save the small girl Aoi from this demon thingy, which later turns into this huge beast. After the story is finished, the credits roll and the mode ends. But psych, this was a fake ending, and after the filler story, the main story starts. A fun fact about this filler story is that after or during the main story, you're able to visit Aoi again and do a mission for her, which unlocks some more dialogue scenes between them. All in all, this story itself isn't anything that crazy or special. I like the fact that there is some continuation in the main story retelling where we can do a mission for Aoi. The thing I dislike the most is the cave itself, in which we spend like 80% of the story. The platforming isn't hard but gets tedious the more you have to traverse it, plus the fact that the game makes you backtrack at some point and then makes you do all of the platforming again feels to me like a section added just to pad the length of the story. Because of these reasons, I will place it in the meh section, because the story itself feels like an extra time extender for the main story, which actually itself was short as hell for this game. Compared to the previous games, Ultimate Ninja 5 doesn't have a dedicated filler story. It actually has a small but lengthy filler mission that could be considered as a filler story. Once you beat the main story and have completed most of the side missions, you unlock a new mission where Naruto, Sai, Sakura and Yamato are tasked in returning to Orochimaru's hideout and investigate some more clues about Sasuke. After the small cutscene, we take control of Sasuke, who's undergoing training by Orochimaru. One of Sasuke's tasks is to traverse through 19 rooms full of enemies, traps and puzzles to retrieve a scroll which has a new jutsu for Sasuke to learn. I personally think the jutsu in question is Kirin. Traversing through the 19 rooms is a pain in the ass. There are two things wrong with with this. First thing being that there are 19 rooms to the traverse, which itself takes a long time to do. The second thing is that in some of these rooms there will be these things that will block your path. To proceed further, you have to either destroy them or use a shuriken on them to use a lever. The deeper you go into these rooms, the higher level of the jutsu is needed to deal with these obstacles, which means if you just run past all the enemies in the room, just like I did, well, good luck. You now have to grind the enemies to earn experience points to level up the needed jutsus to proceed further. But wait, here comes the kicker. Once you do that with Sasuke, who retrieves the scroll and gives it to Orochimaru, you then have to do that all over again, only with Naruto. Holy shit, combined this took me around 4 hours to complete the Sasuke's and Naruto's section. After the filler mission, Naruto gets the possibility to use Sasuke in free roam battles. I'll be honest, I hated this filler story mission. Yeah, okay, cool, we got to see how Sasuke maybe learned the jutsu Kirin, but for that we had to spend 2 hours plus do the same thing with Naruto just to get a support item. This filler story mission is going straight at the end of the mech tier. Now we'll start taking a look at the PSP titles, and the first one being Heroes 2, the Phantom Fortress. The game's main story is just a filler story especially made for the game. The story starts right after the Sasuke's retrieval arc. At the start we see Naruto, Shikamaru and Sakura coming back from a mission, but as soon as they enter the village they see this huge floating castle in the middle of the village, which is sucking out the village's life force, and it's up to Naruto and his friends to get into the castle and stop it. The culprit of this castle is Princess Dusk, who wants to take revenge on the Leaf for destroying her castle and killing everyone she cared about. During the story it turns out that the previous Princess Dusk was a small princess named Princess Kasumi, who lived in this castle before it was supposedly attacked by the Leaf and burned to the ground. In reality it wasn't attacked by the Leaf, but rather by Orochimaru, who fooled the girl into believing him and made an agreement with her where he will give her powers to destroy the Leaf, but in return she will die and become a ghost in this castle. In the end, Naruto and gang go through 100 floors of this castle to put a stop to it. The interesting thing is that after this story there is another filler story which takes place at the same time, and you get to control Jiraiya. While Naruto and gang head up to the upper levels, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune go to the castle's basement to destroy the cauldron which holds all of the gathered life force. The gameplay of this story mostly consists of multiple minigames and fighting, where you have to traverse through the rooms by using these scrolls that allow you to do a small minigame or a fight to proceed. I explain this more in depth in this video here. The story is presented with still images of the characters and with voiced text. In some important parts there are some CGI cutscenes added which look phenomenal on a PSP, like this one. I really like this game's story. It has some good depth to it with some sweet and heartwarming moments. The ending for this game just broke me and made me cry for a bit. It's a beautiful story which is sadly plastered with repetitive game mechanics which become tiresome after the first 10 floors. I was surprised that after beating the story you unlock the continuation of the story where we play as Jiraiya, which further deepens the characters like Princess Kasumi and shows Jiraiya's connection with her. Because of these reasons I'll put this story in the good section. I really enjoyed it. The sequel Heroes 3 puts a small twist in regards to the filler story. If Ultimate Ninja 4 for example had the filler story at the start, then this game places the filler story right in the middle of the main story. In the main story we're able to play as Naruto and Sasuke following the Shippuden story right until the Hidan and Kakuzu arc. The filler story takes place right after you finish a character's story and is split into two halves, Naruto's side of the filler story and Sasuke's side of the story. The filler story revolves around this cult of ex-Konoha Anbu scientists that want to steal this special seed that is hidden in the Konoha sealed hall. The backstory for this is that when Orochimaru was still in the village, he worked on creating a forbidden jutsu in Konoha. Third Hokage got wind of it and banished him. Then a researcher named Shinga, who's the main antagonist of the filler story, wanted the forbidden jutsus for himself, so he stole them and fled the village. Itachi was sent to intercept them and retrieve the stolen info. In the end, Shinga supposedly fell into the waterfall and died. The filler story revolves around Naruto and his friends trying to stop Shinga from retrieving the seed that is needed for him to use a forbidden jutsu on, that will suck the life force out of everyone in this world. During the story, Shinga is successful and transforms into this huge monster that Naruto has to stop. While this is going on, Sasuke has already formed the Hebi team and is looking for Itachi. Sadly, his journey is put on a hold as soon as all of the Hebi members, except for him, are impacted by Shinga's plans. So Sasuke pursues Shinga and with the help of Naruto stops him. Yeah, they both team up and stop Shinga, after which Sasuke just dips. This is just a small abridged story retelling. There are actually more aspects to the story, like a small flashback from Naruto's memories where when he was training with Jiraiya, who instructed Naruto to train with this girl named Tsukino, who's an expert in genjutsu. She at her village actually play a huge role in the filler story. The gameplay of this filler story is padded with unneeded activities like running from one area to another, then have a filler battle to then again run from one point to another to then finally progress the story. In my opinion, the story itself is okay, nothing too interesting and nothing too crazy. Only new thing that was added which was not seen in Ultimate Ninja games at that time was a boss battle where you actually fight Shinga in his boss form. The new characters and their designs are interesting, and the whole concept of ex-researchers trying to destroy the world feels a bit cliche. One thing that rubbed me the wrong way is that Sasuke and Naruto both defeat Shinga, but as soon as they meet, there is no like surprise from Naruto, so like, oh, Sasuke, oh my god, what are you doing here? It's more like Naruto knew Sasuke is coming, and as soon as they defeat Shinga, Sasuke just dips, and that's it. If the story wasn't padded with unneeded filler activities, I would rate it as low good, but for now it's just an okay from me. Ultimate Ninja Impact is the most different game from all the previous Ultimate Ninja games. Instead of being a 2D fighting game, this game is a 3D Musou type of a video game. The main story follows the Shippuden arc, starting from the start of the Shippuden right until the end of the 5 Kage Summit. This game does not have any filler storylines, but rather has some filler missions. Once you finish a chapter, some extra missions are unlocked which you can play. Each mission is different and focuses on different characters. They are missions where you play as Deidara, as Sasuke, and Naruto, and so on. For example, one of Naruto's filler story missions is that after he comes back to the village, Sakura is expecting a souvenir from his travels. Of course, Naruto doesn't have anything for her, so he lies to her that he will bring it to her. Well, actually, he heads to Jiraiya for help. Jiraiya, on the other hand, is evading the Leaf Ninjas because he was again doing some research. In order for Jiraiya to help, Naruto has to protect him. In the end, Naruto protects Jiraiya, and Jiraiya gives Naruto a small gift. Naruto later gives the gift to Sakura, which later turns out to be a sexy bunny costume, for which Naruto gets smacked by Sakura. There are multiple filler missions like these, each varying in quality. I'll put all the filler missions in the okay tier. Now we hop on to the Storm series, and starting from here, the filler stories become scarce. Since Storm 1 was a bit rushed and the content for the main story itself is a bit lacking, there is no filler storyline in this game, so we're getting this one into no filler rank. Well, the same thing kinda goes for Storm 2, since Storm 2 only focused on retelling the events of Naruto Shippuden, and they did that perfectly. Sadly, no filler storyline here. There is a doll gathering mission which unlocks Sasuke vs Killer Bee, but that is not a filler story, so to the last rank it goes as well. Storm Generations is the first filler Storm game. Even though this game does not recap the main story like it did in Storm 2, it still provides a game mode in which we can relive the main story from a different person's perspective. And no, it's sadly nothing like Ultimate Ninja 1, but here we see the canon story for these characters, which means, again, no dedicated filler story. Sad to say this, but just like the previous Storm games, Storm 3 doesn't have a dedicated filler story, and in my opinion, that's a good thing, since the developers spent most of their time in making the main story, which in this game is just superb. Sadly, in the no dedicated story section it goes as well. Thankfully, with Storm Revolution, the curse has been lifted, and this game introduces a small filler story. The filler story in question is the Mecha Naruto story, where we are introduced to a new character. This character was made by Masashi Kishimoto especially for this game. The plot of the filler story is that everyone just forgets about the 4th Great Ninja War, and all of the nations are making a battle tournament to determine who is the best ninja in the world. Before the tournament, Naruto and Hinata see this robot looking thing which looks oddly similar to Naruto. Its name is Mecha Naruto, and he has lost a piece of his memory crystal. And what would you know? The main prize for the tournament is the said crystal. So Naruto, Hinata and Mecha Naruto take part in the tournament. During the story, we see glimpses of Mecha Naruto being jealous of Naruto that he is so beloved by everyone in the village, while they make fun of Mecha Naruto. Right before the final battle in the tournament, Mecha Naruto switches bodies with Naruto and dips. Naruto is confused and tries to convince his friends that he is the real Naruto. After doing some favors for them, Naruto convinces his friends and asks them for their help. In the final tournament battle, we see Mecha Naruto and real Naruto face off, during which Mecha Naruto switches bodies back and the real Naruto beats him up. After that win, Naruto is declared the winner and receives the shard, which he gives to Mecha Naruto. By doing so, he enables QB mode, which was sealed away in Mecha Naruto when the missing part was lost. That makes Mecha Naruto aggressive and go on a rampage. Naruto and team try to stop him, but the only way to do so is to defeat the QB mode, which is in Mecha Naruto's consciousness. After defeating the QB mode, he activates the self-destruction mode, which cannot be stopped. For the first time in a filler story, in Storm, we get a dedicated CGI cutscene, which actually gave me chills. After that, Mecha Naruto explodes, but Naruto was able to save the shard from him, so he and everyone else decides to put the shard in a small Mecha Naruto-like puppet, through which Mecha Naruto can talk now. And with that, the story ends. This story is all over the place and doesn't make sense canon-wise, but it's a fun and funny story with some funny scenes. I was shocked that CC2 made a special in-game cutscene for this game. I would rate this filler story in the OK section. Storm 4 mostly focused on the retelling of the end of Naruto, but as well introduced the adventure mode, which has a small filler story where Naruto, Sakura and Hinata travel the country to do some minor tasks. In the end, it turns out all of these tasks are orchestrated by everyone to get Naruto and Hinata closer, but Naruto being Naruto doesn't understand any of it, so it's a bit pointless. The filler story is really boring and bad. All the dialogue scenes are just text with no voiceovers. CC2 have put more effort in filler storm games like Revolution with Mecha Naruto than here. All you do in this filler mission is just go from place A to place B, remember most important moments from Naruto through flashback fights that don't even have any interesting dialogue or anything. You do that 6 or 7 times and that's it. Only the start and the end have voiced cutscenes and that's it. While doing the main quest, you unlock some side quests that expand the playtime of the filler story by showing some interactions with different characters, but it wasn't fun at all. I will put the adventure mode story and the side missions mini stories in the mech section. Now with the release of Storm Connection, CC2 cooked with this game's special story, which acts as a filler story. The story follows Boruto on a journey of stopping the 5th Great Ninja War, and the funniest thing is that it all stemmed from this one VR game. In short, in the ninja world, a new game has been released called Ninja Heroes, in which the player chooses a character from the Narutoverse and is transported into a VR world. Boruto is obsessed with this game and plays it a lot actually. In the game, there is this guide called Nanashi, which for some reason Boruto has a liking for and treats her as a normal person and not as an NPC, and Nanashi as well replies not as an NPC but as a living being, which sends some red flags actually. Eventually it turns out that the game was being used as a device that steals the life force. Yes, we are again sucking the life force in order to again create an infinite Tsukiyomi where everyone would be tagged with the Sharingan mark and be controlled. The culprit behind all this is the Organization Zero, which their leader, Mertz, follows in the footsteps and ideology of pain, but has his own way of doing it. During the story, a war happens, Boruto travels through time and space, and Nanashi, the best character ever in my opinion, plays a huge role in the story. I won't spoil the rest of the story because there's a lot to cover and would suggest that you experience it for yourself. All I can say is that I love this filler story. The way how Boruto's and Nanashi's relationship was portrayed was just superb. The new evil organization suddenly showing up and initiating a war seems again a bit cliche. The one thing I dislike is that there are 2 sections in which the story is padded out with some filler activities. The story mode has some really awesome animations during the ending parts of this mode, and you can see that if CC2 has enough time and budget, they can give us an awesome story presentation. The mode itself is structured just like Storm 4's main story was, with chapters. There is no free roaming. The story mostly consists of only cutscenes and fights. Sadly, no QT events here. The story itself is a bit long and drags a bit in the middle parts of it, but the ending part of the story, in my opinion, is just superb. I rate this filler story at the top of the good tier. This was a pleasant surprise for me. So yeah, this is the final list for all the Ultimate Ninja filler stories. Most of them are actually pretty good. I am a bit disappointed that the first few Storm games don't have a filler story, but I think it's for the best since they mostly focus on retelling the main story, and in my opinion, they nailed it. What do you guys think of all of this? Which is your favorite filler story in Naruto games? Do you agree with the list? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's all from me. I wish you all a nice day/evening. Bye guys.